Hello, listeners. This is Alyssa at Stories and Spoilers, the podcast, and I have a very exciting episode to start the year off. So, from the previous episode, one of my most anticipated reads of the year, I actually have the author here with me to discuss a brand new romance coming out January 6th of 2026. Without further ado, this is the amazing, wonderful romance author. Without saying much more, introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm LaQuette, and I am so happy to be here with you tonight. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. I am so excited to talk about Janae Sanders' second time around. Can you tell us a little bit more about the book?
Janae is a woman who suffers from strong Black woman syndrome, and she does it all because she's always had to do it all. And she reconnects with a young man she went to high school with, who they were rivals in high school, unknowingly each carrying a crush for one another. And so when he returns home 20 years later, and he's like ready to do what he does, she's like, yeah, no. We're done. And so he has to spend the majority of the novel proving to her while they would be a really great thing together. And, there were complications like family, friends, all of that. But eventually he has to show her that through through consistency that she can trust him and let her guard down with him.
That's so beautiful. Speaking of consistency and kind of winning over a romantic character in a book, I absolutely loved Vanessa Jared's Got a Man. That's another one of your books, and that has dual POV, and it definitely has some longing in there.
Mhm.
I was really curious. I have some icebreaker questions.
Sure.
What romance books played a role in your love for writing?
Oh, wow. I started reading romance novels at the age of 16. I read Harlequin Presents. A friend of mine in high school, I was teasing her about bringing those trashy books to school, and she shut me down and asked me, have you ever read one? And because I hadn't, she was like, well, maybe you should not judge stuff before you actually read it.
Oh,
And she handed what she was reading to me, which was Carol Mortimer's The Devil's Price. And I devoured that
mm,
in a day. And I would go back to her every day until I exhausted her supply. And then had to start going to the public library to get my own copies. And I literally would go to the library almost every day, every other day, and get a new stack of books because I would read them incessantly. Uh,
um,
I didn't really start thinking about writing romance until I'm a Gen Xer, a Zennial to be specific, and so I grew up at home with my grandma watching me. There was no babysitter, there was grandma. And so in grandma's house between 12 and 4:30, I was watching stories with her. And so I learned that whole like dramatic love story thing sort of by watching soap operas with my grandma.
mm,
And I remember watching General Hospital, and at the time, they were just starting to bring like black main characters onto the show. They'd had one black main character a little bit earlier, but hadn't really seen anyone since Simone Hardy. And so they brought on this family. They brought on Justice Ward, and Justice had a cousin named Keisha, and Keisha became the new it girl, like the most wealthy and popular men in that town were chasing Keisha. And I was just like, oh, this is what it is. This is what it should be. Let me go write that. Let me go sit down and
mm.
write that.
I absolutely love that.
That's
My
what
godmother is a huge fan of General Hospital and One Life to Live. And
uh-huh.
I used to like after school sit in her bed and I would like watch her shows. I didn't know what was going on. But she would like something would happen and she'd have to pause the show. But
Hmm.
then the ad would come and she's like, I have to restart. And she would rewatch an episode over and over.
Yeah.
But it was beautiful to see black women get loved on. Obviously the cheesiness, the my evil twin brother loves you too, you know?
I'm gonna
um,
write that book one day.
and someone needs to. And so he had these intense mood swings and he always left for days at a time. He would come back and be so sweet. It's because there were two. It's because there were two, and one is like the edgy dark one, and then one's the good one.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. But she loves them both. It's I love books like that. I also love films like that. It's a guilty pleasure. Reading your books are not a guilty pleasure because I feel like guilty pleasures imply that you have to hide it, or it's taboo in a way. And I was sitting on a flight, loud and proud. I was reading your book, and there was a spicy moment. I went and let me just, I like curled the book in so I could like read under the light of that little like airplane light. And I was like, I'm gonna finish this book. I'm leaving here with something.
Well,
I'm from around the way. I'm gonna leave here with something.
at least you read the physical copy. My sister was listening to the audiobook and I called
Ooh.
her and she picked up real quick and she said, "Gotta go, bye." And she hung back up. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" So she texts me, "I'm reading your book. They're about to do it. I can't talk to you. I need to listen."
Wow.
Terrible. Like you can pause that and talk to me. I can tell you what happens. I wrote it. She's like, "No, I need to listen to this now."
She said, "This is me and my what is it? This is my mind palace. Don't interrupt us." Yeah. I love when you meet the author, and authors are so sweet and warm and kind, but then they write the most like toe curling, like the octopus was in the shadows, or like he was a mob boss, but he had a heart of gold for her, the barista from around the way. And you're sitting here and you're like, I see it. I'm finding it, And he's like, I just want to fund your lifestyle, babe. You're like, let him do what he needs to do. Why are you
Absolutely.
fighting him? Like, what is going on? We're in a recession. Do what you need to do. So,
Exactly.
I also wanted to know you're currently a PhD student and you
Yes.
have Black feminist studies. Does
Hmm.
that play a role in how you write your books? And why or why not?
Yes and no. It's sort of a twofold question. I mean, I obviously don't really write lecture notes and things like that into a book. No one would read it. But I think even before I understood what Black feminism was, it was something that I was inherently living as a Black woman in America. And so I would write stories that were culturally significant to me and the Black women that I knew, and the Black women that were surrounding me. And just I wanted to write Black women in a way that showed us in a dynamic view and not flattened us into monolithic characters. I wanted nuance to our stories, and on in terms of traditional publishing, I wasn't seeing a lot of that.
Mm,
And indie publishing is so wonderful in that you can find any and everything you want. But even in indie publishing, discoverability is hard because of the way the algorithms are set up. And so if you're looking for something, you're not always going to find it if you're looking for books that feature Black women, women of color, people of color, queer people, diverse folks, disabled folks. It's just not, the algorithm is against you. And so
yeah.
when I started reading, I think I was probably after I discovered romance, those Harlequin Presents, I probably stopped reading them after, by the time I graduated high school, I wasn't reading them anymore. And I probably didn't go back to romance until after I graduated college. And I had a little bit of disposable cash, and I could buy books that I saw in New York and Jamaica Avenue in Queens. There used to be shops all up and down Jamaica Avenue from 150th down to 165th Street. And they were lined with not only stores, but street vendors. And the street vendors would always have all of the latest, like, Black books. And this is how I discovered Zane. This is how I discovered Donna Hill. This is how I discovered the late Frances Ray, Rochelle Allers, Sandra Kitt. Eric Jerome Dickey, all of these wonderful Black authors that were gaining popularity between like the 90s to the 2000s, Terry McMillan. This is where I discovered those folks. And all of a sudden, I was just like, I adore this because I didn't realize what I was missing was me on the page. And that's when I really started seriously thinking about like writing something. And it was always in the back of my head. But life happens, and then I got married, and then I got pregnant. And when I was home, um I'd be home during the day, bored out of my mind. And so I'd start, working on this piece. And I let my husband read the first half of it, and he was like, "This is good. Like, where's the rest of it?" And he's not a person that, reads romance. And so I was like, well, maybe it might be something I might be interested in doing. And I kept like practicing at it until I got something that was workable. And
Mm.
by then I was engaging with a lot of authors online. At that time, there were a lot of small presses that were available, so it was a little bit easier at that time to sort of find a press to put your work out. And a friend of mine said to me, "Hey, my publisher is looking for something, with diverse characters. Why don't you submit?" And I submitted it, and they loved it, and that was the beginning of my publishing journey. But it really just all started with me wanting to see women that looked like me, that came from places like Brooklyn, that had a little grit to them, but also, had lots of shine. Um, I wanted to write about round the way girls and round the way girls who, were slightly bougie.
She may be tough, but she's got taste,
Is
and I'm here for it.
right.
Yes.
So, and I wasn't really seeing that, at least not from the Brooklyn angle. I wasn't seeing it. And so I wanted to write stuff like that. And so
Mm.
a few years ago, Harlequin, an editor from Harlequin contacted my then agent. And he's like, "Hey, I want you to write for Harlequin." And I'm like, "Why?" He's like, and I wasn't being facetious, I really just didn't think that anything I was writing, like I didn't see anything coming out of Harlequin at the time that was really similar to what I was writing. And so, or who I was writing, I should say, not necessarily what I was writing, but who I was writing. And he says, absolutely. He was like, "Don't you think it's time for you to bring your curvy Black women from Brooklyn to the pages of a Harlequin romance novel?" It's like, dag, he kind of got me, threw my words back in my face. And so
He said, "What do you mean by that?" You went, "Oh,
so
yeah,
I had to put up or shut up, and that was the Devereaux Inc. series. And that sort of started my traditional publishing career.
that is so cool." I wanted to know, since you've read so many romance books and that's a major part of your story, what makes a good romance book, and what are some of your favorite book tropes and why?
Um, I love um I love forced proximity. I write forced proximity like all the time. Every one of my books is a forced proximity book. There are other things going on, but at the heart of it is a forced proximity book. I just love that they have to be in each other's faces and they can't get away from each other.
Mm.
I I also love a no nonsense hero, not someone who's a jerk, but someone who doesn't like allow the heroine to just do whatever she wants, right? Like, and
Mm.
Janae is one such woman. Like, Adam, the hero, is very laid back. And a lot of times Janae would take that, that calmness for weakness, and he would have to correct her. Let her know, "Ma'am, we're not playing these games," right? Like, there is a time where he finds out she's working late unexpectedly. She works in a hospital. And so he decides to bring her food so she can eat. And she pulls out her wallet to pay him for it. And he says to her, "Don't insult me like that. Like, whenever I'm around, your money is never any good. Like, what would make you think I came here looking for you to pay me back for something I did for you out of the kindness of my heart?" Like,
You
let's
set the bar so high. I'm sitting here, I was reading a book and I'm like, man, these romantic leads are so good. And I'm like, written by a woman, written by a brilliant person, setting the bar, green flags everywhere. I see no red flags.
yeah.
I also noticed you don't have a lot of miscommunication in your books either. Like they're very clear about what's going on. There may be
Well,
misunderstandings, but like the
I
feelings
think
are real.
the thing is, so not that miscommunication is a bad device. I mean, it can be done well. If it's done well, it's fine. But here's the thing, these people are over 40, right? And at over 40, if you have not yet learned how to communicate how you feel, then one, you ought not be in a relationship. And two, you probably need to go sit on someone's couch to learn that skill so that
Mm.
you can And that's another, like, therapy is a theme in this book. I don't say that facetiously. I'm always advocating for Black mental health. And this series is really about that, making sure that Black women and Black men realize that praying is great, but sometimes we also need the
Yeah.
help of a medical professional when it comes to our mental health. And so um, having them be, at the mid stage of their life, they've done all the things, they are settled in their careers. Janae is divorced with a teenage child. So, these are people who have had some life experience since the last 20 some odd years that they saw each other.
Mm,
And especially where Janae is concerned, because she is so skittish where trust is concerned, because she's never, like, her ex-husband did not give her reason to be able to trust. Her mother did not give her reason to trust. And so she's learned through these relationships, through these really toxic relationships, familial relationships that she's had, that she can only depend on herself. And
mm.
he knows that she can't just lay that down. And he even tells her, you have a traumatic response. This is a trauma response. You went through all of this. And yes, it is natural that you don't trust. And I'm not saying you got to just open the doors for me. I'm just saying, let me show up. Let me show you. Let me show you. And he does that consistently over and over and over again. Even when she thinks he doesn't, he does.
That's beautiful. I want to dive a little deeper into elements of your upcoming book. Obviously, this is a non-spoiler episode. Since this episode comes out the Friday before the book comes out, I want to keep it like I want to tease the listeners, Like I want to read it. I know y'all want to read it. You already have all the answers. So I'm just sitting here. I'm like, yeah, give us a little bit of wine, a little bit of cheese, a little bit of crackers, but don't give us the whole meal, because I want to get your book. Um, I wanted to know a little bit about a rom-com or a movie that you feel like matches the vibe of Janae Sanders' second time around.
Uh, well, if you have seen Savvy Sheldon's Feeling Good as Hell by Taj McCoy. It's not exactly the same in that I don't think Savvy is as old as my characters are. But it's very much that ensemble cast, the good friends, the family, everyone coming together to work to get you to get the heroine and the hero or the leads, to get them together, even when they don't necessarily want to be together. And that's what the Savvy, Sexy, and Single Club is for Janae. It was that for Vanessa. Now it is that for Janae. It will be that for Cree. Um, where it's this group of women, and by extension, the men that they're with,
Mm-hmm.
they've always been this group, because all of them grew up together with the exception of Vanessa. Vanessa is the only transplant into to town. So the five of the six people have always known each other since like birth. And so they've always had this close-knit relationship, but these relationships really help them understand and break down their fears and help them work past their fears in order to gain that something good that's just on the other side.
I love how you write female friendship, specifically in the Black women community. And this, I loved Vanessa so much. I'm so ready to love Janae. And I honestly, the way that you write romance, it truly does feel so like these characters are so well established in life that when they do open themselves to love, I understand their hesitancy and I understand their concern and like not wanting to like waste their time. And I
Yeah.
love how you write male love characters as well and like kind of where they're coming from and how you write their perspectives and you just kind of made me like fall for both of them. So seeing them fall for each other, I just felt like I kind of returned back to that like that soft place as a young Black girl where you have your Barbies and you have your dolls and you're like now kiss and it's just I'm sitting here and I'm like I understand that there's real life situations going on but my brain is like but the love. I'm sitting here and I'm like, I know you guys like each other,
I,
and this thing's going on, this feelings, this tension.
from the first page, Adam makes no qualms, like he's no secrets about what he wants. All right.
I
From
love that.
the first time he sees her, he lets her know what it is. And she's, not really receptive, even though she's attracted to him. It's obvious she's attracted. She's just not receptive because she's not in that space.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I always try to do with my heroes is my heroes are never confused about whether they're attracted to the heroine. That is
Mm,
immediate,
I'm
right?
here for it.
Even if they don't like them, they are attracted to them,
Love
right?
that.
So my most recent release, The King's Pregnancy Proposition, this king is very upset with the heroine because she and her twin sister played a twin swap on him. And it was problematic because the twin he thought he was sleeping with was actually married to another man, and she got pregnant. And he started doing math, thinking that could be his baby. And this is how he discovers he slept with the wrong twin. So he is extremely upset and ready to basically punch a wall when he finds out all this going on. But it's always clear he might not like her, but he'd sleep with her again if he had the chance.
The lady was too stunned to speak. I'm sitting here and I'm like, I'm from Florida, so I know some wild things, but my brain is like trying to do the calculations. I'm like, so you love her, but there was a mix up. I'm seeing the soap opera,
It's
references
it's
here.
very soap opery that book is anyway. But Adam is very much he came back with the purpose of connecting with Janae. He knew he
Mm.
was coming home. He knew that, he has Adam has a very real journey himself, where he has to figure out some things for himself, and coming back home is the only way he gets to really face those things and deal
Mm.
with them and put them to bed finally. And him never telling Janae how he felt when they were teenagers is very much connected to that. And so
Ooh.
he's like, I'm coming back to deal with all my old baggage and I'm going to clear that up. And then I'm going to get the woman I've always wanted. And, the last time I came back home, which was from Michael's parents' funeral, which is probably like 10 years before this point in the series, that was the last time he saw her. And she was married at that point. And so was
Mm.
he. He was also married at that point. So it was a non-starter. But now that they're both free, and they're both at a stage in their life where they can entertain that kind of a relationship, he's like, I'm coming home for the express purpose of dealing with my crap, but also getting the woman I want.
Life be like that. Sometimes you got to make a plan so that you can achieve your dream. And sometimes
Yes,
your dream is to be with someone, to put certain things
exactly.
to bed and to be with the person you want to be with. And I love that. I was curious. You seem to have really well developed characters, very complex characters. Are any of your characters inspired by real people? And how do
I
you
don't know.
build these complex characters?
I don't think that they're based on any one person. I think that some of their experiences are very familiar. So, like Vanessa's experience of walking into Monroe Hills is my experience of moving to a very small town in the Pocono Mountains in Pennsylvania, coming from Brooklyn. And the whole idea of walking into this space where everybody knows you, where, there is an actual main street. Like, you don't know how tripped out I was when I actually discovered there's really a main street in my town. It like I remember when we first got here, we were driving, it was late one night. And I remember I couldn't see, like it's pitch black out here. And I lived in New York, so I didn't even need to know where the headlight button on my car was, because it was a new car at the time, so I'm still figuring out where all the buttons are. And I remember I didn't yet know where the high beams were. And I'm like, I don't need high beams in New York. Like, this was never an issue. And here I had to like fumble until I could find them while I was driving, because you literally cannot see what's in front of you.
Wow.
And also, like, the roads are really like curvy and windy. There's no lights on the roads. There are no guardrails on these mountainous, windy roads. So I'm like, who decided that safety was a luxury like that?
They said, I'll show you a rip. You were like, oh.
Who decided this in the city planning? Like, who decided that guardrails were just like extra, we don't need. Like, send
That's
that somewhere else.
crazy.
And so I remember having that experience, and I wanted to sort of like, being that I knew that this was going to be a small town series, I wanted to sort of bring that idea of how what a culture shock it is for Vanessa to come into this place, coming from a very wealthy background, and
Mm.
living in the city. And now this is more of more of a we're settled into this space now because Vanessa is now settled with Michael. She's there as the support. She and Cree are there as the support system for
Love it.
and you're really getting to see like what it is for Janae to be someone who has been in this town forever, who believes in this town, who works hard for this town, both in the hospital, but also in the community. And so for me, like creating dynamic characters is really very much about why what do they want? Their goal, their motivation, why do they want it? And their conflict, why can't they have it? And
Mm.
once you can sort of figure those things out, you start creating things that sort of add tension to that, right? So, what does Janae want? She wants her son's arts program gets shut down unexpectedly, and she's like, no, like my baby needs that program. There's a scholarship with his name rating on it and he needs that program. You're not going to just cut that. And so she works in the community to start bringing, get the to get the program back, right? But what could mess that up? The man that you're dating turns out to be the superintendent who actually cut the program, right? So there's tension. Like it's not just she can't have it, it's like this is a whole world of trouble
Mm.
that's standing in her way. And she sees him as kind of sort of the enemy. And she still can't let go of how he used to annoy her when they were kids. And so there's a lot of tension there that she has to work through and in order for her to have emotional growth. And so when I'm thinking about characters, I'm thinking about what kind of journey do they need to take? What kind of growth do they need to do they need to endure in order for them to be able to believably have this relationship end in a happily ever after? Because if they're not willing to do the work to get the growth, then their joining together is not going to feel satisfying because it's not going to feel earned.
Mm. I love how you know your characters inside and out. You know their flaws, their strengths, what they're looking for. And as the reader, you can feel that when you read your books. You can feel like, I
Yeah.
want this character to get past this. I want them to be open to love, but there's realistic things in the way. It's complicated. And I love how you build this like almost like a cake. Like there's so many layers to it that by the time that your book is finished, I'm sitting here like, where's the second cake? Where and I have to read your books very slowly because I want to savor them, but I plow through these puppies. So I'm so excited to read your next book. And as we close out this interview, I wanted to ask, what was your favorite part of writing Janae Sanders' second time round?
My favorite part is just um, showing her the consistency that she needed. And one of the things, like, there's a whole lot of conversation about, Black women when it comes to love and what Black women's places, what our place is in the world and in the home and things of that nature. And oftentimes Black women get blamed for so much. Where so much gets put on our shoulders. And Janae was a representation of that, of the person who always has to carry so much on our shoulders. And I want when I write a Black woman, I want her to be seen as being loved and treasured and
Mm.
given, even when she doesn't necessarily know she needs it, given the opportunity to be treated as something precious when the world tells her she's not. And so Janae is so used to fighting because she's always had to fight. She doesn't recognize immediately that she doesn't have to fight Adam. And it was a joy for him to peel back those layers and him to just show up and do like simple things. They weren't even like, true grand gestures. It was just simple stuff. Let's go do this. I said I'm going to show up at this time. I'm going to show up at this time. I invited you out. I'm going to come make sure I pick you up and take you because if I can ask you out, I should be man enough to make sure you have a way there as well and back home. Like showing up and doing the foundational work so that and he, I mean, he does go above and beyond for her. He does, but really what he does is restore her faith that not only can she trust, but she deserves to be able to be in a relationship with a partner that she can trust.
That's absolutely beautiful. It sounds like you crafted an amazing love story and a story of community and a story of friendship and healing. What would you like listeners to know about Janae Sanders' second time round, and where can they buy your book January 6th, 2026?
Janae, as you said, will be out on Tuesday, January 6th, 2026. You will be able to buy it wherever books are sold, retailers. You'll probably be in Barnes and Nobles. It definitely will be in some indie bookstores. I'm actually about to go on tour with Janae, and I'm going to be hitting some places like Baltimore and a few other cities. And that's all on my website at LaQuette.com. We'll add more dates as the confirmations come in. But ultimately, this series, the Savvy, Sexy, and Single Club series, is all about women leaning on each other when they feel weak until they can be strong, and giving each other a soft place to land when the world is terrible to them,
Mm,
and finding partners who understand what they need and respect their needs, but also make sure that their own needs are communicated as well. Because I don't want the brothers who pick this up to feel like they're left out. It's not the there's a like Adam has his own friend group that does for him what the Savvy, Sexy, and Single Club does for Vanessa and Janae. And to see those brothers like come together and love on each other, and these are grown men in their 40s, and there's no shame in how they love each other, and that they have this support. And so I want anyone who picks up this book to know that it doesn't always have to be hard, and when it is, sometimes help is there, and we just gotta like allow allow help to help us.
Thank you so much for coming on my podcast and sharing your inspiration for your story, for being such a light in the romance genre, and just as a person, you're
Well,
showing us
thank you.
that beauty. It's gorgeous, and I'm so
Thank
happy to
you
have
so
you.
much. I'm so excited to be here, and it's been my pleasure to sit and chat with you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. And everyone who listened, please check out Janae Sanders' second time round. It'll be out January 6th, 2026. I will link the book below, and I will also link your website below so everyone can find you, as well as your Instagram. Leave a like on YouTube if you can, subscribe, and follow on Spotify, and give this author all the love in the world. Have an absolutely great day. Bye.
Same